Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with another episode of the Strafing Run, once again designed to keep you up to date on a fairly regular basis. So, footage in the background, we're taking a look at Chivalry once again, and this game has definitely taken me by surprise. I love it, a lot of fun. You need to check it out if you haven't already. If you want some really gruesome, hardcore, medieval melee combat, this is definitely the go-to game. Obviously, there's also War of the Roses, and I often get asked, which would you choose if you could only have one? I obviously have both, but, I have to lean towards Chivalry. I just enjoy the combat a little bit more. I just think it's just this brutally fun game. I don't know, there's a satisfaction when you just take somebody out with a swing. I don't know, but I'd like to see where both games are going. Obviously, War of the Roses continues to get a fair amount of updates, and that's always good to see developer support, so hopefully they can, polish the game off a little bit more, add a bit more balance, and tweak a few things. So I think both games will be successful in their own right. So there is that. Don't forget, Mountain Blade is still one of my favorites as well, but I'm just kind of looking at the newer games at the moment, and out of those, I would probably have to lean towards Chivalry if I could only have just one. Obviously, I have both. But in my last Chivalry video, I did the mode that has no respawns. And when I would die, which happened fairly often, I was able to do some sort of commentary on the rest of the players, the ones that were currently in battle. And it was more of a sportcast style commentary, which I don't get to do often or at all, really, because I'm usually playing everything live, and it's always just focused on what I'm doing. A lot of you seem to have enjoyed that sportcast style of commentary, and I was curious to see how many of you would like to see me do more of that. It would obviously have to be in games that allow me to spectate, in games that allow me to spectate without kicking me off of the server, because sometimes servers kick you for just being a spectator. They want you to play as, so that you're not taking up a slot. It would have to be in something that maybe a game that allows a replay system. Obviously, real-time strategy games are famous for this. Company of Heroes is one of my favorite RTSs of all time. I will be playing Company of Heroes 2 when it comes out. And so I was thinking maybe some of those, there's a website called gamereplays.org, and you can typically go there and download different replays and things like that. Or perhaps I could deal with user-submitted replays and look at them and kind of, do a play-by-play, during some of those. Or I could, of course, just continue to try and maybe spectate some Chivalry games and just have at it. So, what would you think about seeing me join a Chivalry server where I do nothing but spectate and just call out the battle? Is that enjoyable to you? Or would you rather just see me actually play? I mean, it depends. So, if there is that interest, then I'd be excited to do it, because I actually kind of enjoy doing the sportcast type of thing, and I would like to do more of that if you find it enjoyable. Obviously, if the percentage of people that, don't, if the percentage is too low and you're not really into that kind of thing, then it's going to be pointless in general, because, obviously if it's not getting enough views. But, if there's enough people, I suppose I do this for fun anyway half the time. So, if the demand is great enough, I could do it. But it's versus, should I get into a spectator game or should I actually play, which, and I have no problem doing both, because, spectating and commentary, to me, that's why I do this. It's fun. It's enjoyable. So, so let me know in the comments below what you think about doing that. Again, I don't necessarily film real-time strategy games, me playing them, because multitasking in those games plus doing live commentary is very difficult. I tried it once with Company of Heroes. It was a disaster, and I vow to never do it again, pretty much. Well, I'm not going to say never, because who knows. With COH2 next year, I believe, sometime, I might have to do something with it, because I really love Relic as a developer, and the COH titles are just phenomenal. In my opinion, Relic was making some of the best RTS titles around while Blizzard was sleeping on StarCraft 2. I'm sorry if I've offended anybody with that, but I think it's the truth. Relic came out with Warhammer, Dawn of War, and blew everybody away with brilliant new gameplay and mechanics. whole bunch of new expansions and DLCs and things like that. And in Company of Heroes, again, I mean, if you look at that game today, it still holds its own visually and in terms of gameplay. Just phenomenal. Hands down, I don't know, in my opinion, best RTSs around by Relic. That company, they never cease to amaze me. But so that's that. Moving right along, I want to talk a little bit about World of Tanks. Obviously, it's one of my favorite games currently. I play it a lot. I really enjoy World War II history and military history, and I have a thing for armor, tanks, armored vehicles in general. Just I don't know. I've just always been fascinated by them, and it's the one thing I do know a fair bit about. I'm pretty good with that kind of stuff, and I just really enjoy that game. So that's one that I'll always be covering. I'll always be doing videos for. I do them all live. I usually do 3 games at a time, real time, no post commentary, so you actually see what's happening. If it's a win or a loss, that's what it is. Some of you have been saying, oh, it seems like SideStrafe always wins every time he plays, or his team is always winning every time he makes a video. Actually, guys, it's actually mostly luck. I mean, I lose a lot of games too, and this is a game where you can only do so much. You can only do so much as one tank. If your team is not willing to cooperate, if you're yelling out orders or something, or you're trying to say, hey guys, you know, watch the west, watch the east, we're empty here, defend, whatever, and nobody wants to listen, then you're not always going to win. And sometimes you just run in a game where your whole team just goes off to one side or throws themselves at the enemy, just does 1v1 and gets killed, and it's not going to work out. So those types of games seem to happen more for me at night. I guess it's because more people show up online. Everybody wants to get their daily double XP. You know, sometimes it's just luck. For some reason, when I record, it's usually during the daytime. You know, maybe there's fewer people on. I don't know. Maybe the more I get lucky. I don't know. So, you know, I win. I think my win-loss ratio is almost even. And it's not a stat you want to look at because it's not going to be always your fault. It's not like you're playing a first-person shooter where you control more of, you know, your results. In this game, if your team is bad, you know, they're going to take you down with them. So that's all there is to it. But you have to also learn when to realize you've made a mistake and the team has made a mistake. If you find that you've done a lot of damage, or you're like the last one living and you have a fair share amount of kills, then yeah, the team probably let you down. But if you died within the first 2 minutes of the game, you know, and you have barely any damage or no kills, then you're part of that problem as well. So because I bring that up because there's a lot of people that always complain, oh, fail team, and they're dead, and they're like, wait, you're dead, why? You're sitting there, a toasty tank, and you're blaming the team, and you don't have a kill. And we look at your stats at the victory screen or the defeat screen, and there's nothing there. You have a couple points of damage, but you're gonna blame the team for your death because you wanted to rush it. So, you know, there's a lot of, you know, excuses that people want to throw out in the chat just because they're angry at life. So learn to ignore that type of thing as well. But with World of Tanks 2, obviously, today is actually the final day of the Golden Joystick Awards, and it's October 22nd. So obviously, if you're watching this video late, ignore this. But the Golden Joystick Awards are kind of just these online awards for various games. They've been nominated for Best MMO, and you might be thinking, Best MMO? They're never going to win that. Well, there aren't as many games in that category as you might think. Like World of Warcraft actually isn't there because I guess it's not. I don't know. I'm not even sure how these games got nominated, but there's some, you know, other games there like Star Wars: The Old Republic, League of Legends, Rift, things like that, Terra Online. You know, some major games, some not so major. Obviously, the big contender would probably be League of Legends, and it really just depends on how far they're pushing their fans to vote for it. But, you know, Wargaming has been a company that I like supporting because I feel that they've made a free-to-play game that offers a lot, and really the choice to pay for anything is completely in your hands. There's no need to buy anything if you don't want to, and that's what makes a good free-to-play. But the thing is, you know, here, yes, they are offering rewards to people for voting. and they are basically discounting the price of tier 10 and tier 9 tanks. They're going to cost as much as the tier 8 tanks, I believe. Well, if it's a tier 9 tank, it'll cost as much as a tier 8. If it's a tier 10, it'll cost the price of a tier 9. So they're doing that. They're offering discounts on garage slots and things like that, some 3 times premium time. And some people are like, oh, that's a bribe. No, it's not. I mean, because Wargaming gives away all the promotions all the time. They do promotions for historical wartime events, like, you know, when the anniversary for D-Day comes up, they'll do you know, bonus XP days and things like that. So they do this type of stuff often. It's just that this is a bigger bonus as a whole for the number of things that they're offering. It's just because, you know, this award is important to a company like Wargaming, because, you know, not that many people know about them, and sure, it helps put them on the map a bit more. But I think in this case, they've done right by me, at least. And I'm pretty picky when it comes to games, and then for them to have you know, to really have gone this far and continue to update the game, add content and balances and fixes, and really stay in touch with the community via their forums, video guides. I mean, they make video guides for their own games on their YouTube channel, tutorials on how to play the game. They give away, you know, fighting, combat tactics, and secrets. I mean, there's not a lot of companies that do this stuff. They really go above and beyond when it comes to being a developer. And, you know, it's difficult sometimes because they're Russian, and we have to, you know, go through their North American offices to really get everything. But they've done a brilliant job with translation and keeping in touch with all of the countries all over the world. So I think they deserve it. You know, they deserve a vote. So if you're watching this on the 22nd of October, as it is the last day, go over to the link in the description below and vote. Vote for World of Tanks if you enjoy that game. When you hit vote, it's gonna ask you to register your vote, because just hitting the vote button does nothing. It doesn't count. You need to register your vote, which means put in an email address, register for an account, basically. It's really quick and simple. It's like 2 to 4 minutes. Not a big deal at all. But just register your vote there and help them out. Maybe we can win and get some cool stuff out of it. I think that'd be nice. I think they deserve it. So if you've been playing this game and enjoying it, then you know why they deserve it. I don't really have to say any more about that. But that's that. I also had planned on, I had asked the community, I'd asked people on Facebook, actually more so, if they were interested in me doing post commentary for replays on World of Tanks. Obviously, as you know, you can check an option in the game to record your battle. So you can then go into the file, load up a replay, and watch your battle. And that's kind of nice. You can slow it down, go into slow motion, fast forward through it, and see how you did. And I had wondered what people would think about submitting good replays to me. They would have to be really interesting replays, maybe higher tier games, or at least mid-level to high tier games, or just something very, very interesting or funny, lots of kills, excellent tactics, something hilarious happens, and I would go in, watch the game, and just do commentary over it. Again, like I was talking with the sports casting, because this game offers a replay system, it would be something that I could do. So if you'd be interested in perhaps having your replay featured in one of my videos, then, you know, and again, this is the replay file. It's a file that allows you to watch your previous game. I'm not talking about you submitting footage. It's not footage, it's a replay file. So the file, it's only a couple megs in size, and basically I load it locally on my machine, and that file will run in-engine full quality, you know, through the game client. I watch it, I then record it, and then make a video of it, and then do a play-by-play, perhaps discuss tactics, maybe show you what you did right, maybe what you did wrong. And again, I don't consider myself the god of World of Tanks. I'm not. There's people that are way better than me. Of course, there always will be somebody that's better than you at something. But I think that I'm pretty confident with this game to the point where I can point out people's mistakes or errors, at least on a tactical level, even though I don't have all the knowledge that there is in regards to perhaps just the tanks themselves, even though I think I do all right. So let me know again if you're interested in that kind of thing. and we'll see what we can do. I just have to work out a system for submitting the files. There are a couple of replay websites that host the files, so I might be able to do it through that. The other thing, actually, the 23rd, October 23rd, Medal of Honor Warfighter comes out. And originally I had polled the Facebook community. Again, I usually use Facebook because it's just an easy way to get out there. You know, what did people think about it? You know, what's the interest in that type of game? And, you know, most people were kind of against it. Some were for it. Some were getting it. Some didn't know. Not sure. I hadn't bought it until a few days ago when Elbrook actually let me know via tweet. I actually saw his tweet that said that Medal of Honor Warfighter was 50% off for those who had Battlefield Premium. And as you know, I had Battlefield Premium. I had already purchased it. So there's this website that allows you to go to it, put in your account information from Origin, and they give you a code. And then you go to the Origin client, you put in the code, and they give you 50% off Medal of Honor Warfighter, either the standard edition, what they call it's funny, the standard edition is called the limited edition, and then they have the digital deluxe edition, which is basically the $10 more version, which gives you the soundtrack and like a Spetsnaz unlock early or something like that. But so I went ahead and did it. It was 50% off. I mean, 50%. I mean, obviously it was a good deal. Obviously a good tactic by EA. They want to really get people into the Battlefield and Medal of Honor franchise. And let's face it, Medal of Honor is built to combat Call of Duty directly. And I understand that. And even though you know that I'm not a huge fan of Call of Duty, not my type of game necessarily, mostly for various reasons that I won't really get into right now. But Medal of Honor, I played the first one. Well, I've been playing Medal of Honor for years, since Medal of Honor Allied Assault. But, this is obviously a modern day Medal of Honor featuring Tier 1 operators. And I played the last modern Medal of Honor, and it was pretty good in regards to the single player. At least I got, it was like 6 hours of good single player. So if anything, even if this game is bad, I'm sure the single player might be fun. It's using a Frostbite 2 engine. That's always a good thing. The multiplayer buddy system in it seems pretty cool. It seems like you might be able to stick with a friend a little bit better. So who knows? Obviously, it's not going to be as realistic as an Arma game or anything. I'm not expecting that. It might be Call of Duty-esque, in some ways. I hope there's a hardcore mode. I think I read that there will be. So yeah, I want to take a look at it. For those of you not sure, I'll at least do a first impressions video of it, so then maybe you can make up your mind then if you value my opinion. So hopefully that'll help you out. But that's that. I just want to let you know that I will be trying that game out. If I enjoy it, like if I'm really into it, then, I'll start doing regular videos on it. If not, it might just fall by the wayside. So moving right along, what do we got? We got a lot of stuff today, I guess. DayZ, War Z. And so what's going on with this? Well, same old. Obviously, Elbrook and I always do a weekly episode, which is usually falling now on Saturdays or Sundays. It just depends on those days because that's obviously when he has off. So that's when we choose to do that. Try to keep those episodes. I'd like to keep them at 30 minutes, but half the time they go overboard just because of the way it is with the commentary. You just get too into it and stuff like that. We're not going to play every single new map that comes out, so we're always aware because we use DayZ Commander and it shows us the new maps and mods that come out. So, I wouldn't necessarily try to suggest any of the new maps because we're aware of them, and we get a lot of requests to try them all. And some of them are just bad, and they're just like the whole Fallujah one. It was horrible. We tried it twice, and it was just a miserable experience. And I think some of them are just being like, oh, try this, try that, and it's half of the time it's just converted maps that were made for Arma are now being converted over to, and I'm tired of that because I just want to see somebody come up with a brand new map that's made for DayZ. Like, I made this 100% for DayZ. Here's why it's awesome. I don't want like a converted, oh, this was made for Arma. but let's use it with DayZ. No, stop doing that, because that's the problem with DayZ in the first place. They're taking something that was made for one game and using it for another, when we need to see something just with, you know, a better environment. And Lingor so far has been the best solution. And that's why DayZ standalone is going to be better, because it's made for itself. You know, they want they want more enterable structures and interiors. You know, and you know, in regards to that, yes, I will be taking a look at DayZ standalone when the time is right, when it comes out, when I have access to it, when I'm allowed to look at it. You know, hopefully they'll be fairly cooperative with me and maybe, you know, let me take a look at it early or something. I hope. That would be nice of them. So yeah, eventually there's that. But I do have a question in regards to the War Z. Now, obviously, it's currently in beta, alpha testing. There's a non-disclosure agreement, which means if you're in alpha, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to say anything about it. You're not allowed to post screenshots. You're not allowed to post videos. So I get a lot, you know, are you, you know, SideStrafe, are you going to take a look at War Z? Yes, I am. I can't, you know, people want to see the footage. I can't. Not until they remove the NDA, which I think is at the end of the month, the 30th or something like that. Or at least early November, I'm not sure. So you won't see anything unless they get back to me. I've messaged them, I've contacted them, they have been in touch with me in regards to some content, but yeah, they just haven't been very responsive in letting me know when, because we're nearing the end of the month, and at this point, I don't think I'll be taking a look at anything that some other network hasn't been looking at, and that's kind of a shame, because I think what happened is there's another network out there that I think got a hold of them first, or offered them something, perhaps, I'm not sure, to give them exclusivity, which is why there's been nothing from me, and there's been some pretty piss poor content from this other network. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. I mean, when you're watching a video and there's Skype sound effects in the background, that's just poor standards. And you know, I would hope that they would choose somebody who respects quality to look at their game. It really does kind of grind my gears on that one, because it's like, you know, you're trying to, you know, get some publicity out for a new game. Do it right. Do it right. Do it with somebody who checks his audio and video quality and knows how to render a file. I mean, come on. Who knows how to mute all external sound sources, you know? I'm not perfect. I'm not by any means, and I'm sure there's better content out there, but come on. I mean, if I was making a game, I think I would be, a little bit more, take a little bit more care into who's doing the first look of my title, you know? But there's that. So hopefully they'll get back to me, and I can give you the look at the game that you deserve. Although, if you're interested in it, you're probably already alpha testing it, as anybody who basically pre-ordered any of the packages is in the beta anyway. So I would assume with the amount of people that are into that type of thing, you're probably into it anyway, and it doesn't even matter. So I don't think that there's going to be an early look at it, unfortunately. But when the time comes, I'll be ready. So that was kind of a rant there, wasn't it? At least we had one rant for the day. In regards to both of the games, here's the question. Let's say, and I don't know this at all, I really don't. Let's say War Z comes out. What if it's a better game than DayZ in its current form? Would you like to see War Z replace DayZ as the weekly thing? No, I don't necessarily want to do both, because if one is just outright better, why would I want to play the other one? You see what I'm saying? I mean, now there are going to be two camps. There's going to be the DayZ camp and the War Z camp. There's two factions of people. One's going to hate the other. You know, oh, this is a copy of this and blah, blah, blah. Everything's been... But game developers have been copying each other since the beginning of time. That's not the thing here. Let's just say one is better than the other. You know, I would want to think to myself, well, if War Z is better, then wouldn't you rather watch me play a better product, you know, and add my commentary and storytelling to it than to stick with something that's unfinished, you know? Because at least War Z is going to be their final product, you know. And then when DayZ comes out standalone, then that's a different story. But currently DayZ is basically an unsupported mod as far as I'm concerned. So at this point, I think that if War Z is good, and that's a big if, because I have no idea, and we'll have to wait and see, then yeah, I would like to probably have weekly episodes of that. I'm sure Elbrook will agree. You know, same thing. We'd rather play something that we're actually enjoying a bit more. That way we can add more to it. But we'll have, again, we don't know. But my question there, I'm rambling at this point, is, you know, would you be fine with War Z replacing DayZ as your weekly zombie survival horror thing? So, you know, questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the leave them below, of course, and we'll see how that goes. Because at this point, I don't see how it could necessarily be any worse unless there's an issue with, like, the size of the world or something. I don't know. I can see how it's easy to make a better game because you already have that stepping stone, you know. So I think it. I mean, they have nowhere to go but up. It just depends on, you know, how good they are with programming the game mechanics that we want to see. So we'll have to go with that. But again, you know, would you be sad if there was no DayZ until standalone comes out? That's, I guess, the question. Would you miss it if there was a superior product? And don't be come on, guys, let's not be fanboys about it. Let's be honest here. Would you miss an inferior product if something better came out? That's just what it's going to come down to. So yeah, I think that covers that. Again, I want all games to succeed. I want there to be good competition. I want DayZ standalone to be amazing. I want War Z to be amazing. I want them to fight each other because they're just going to have to outdo one another. You know, they're going to have to bust their butts to release superior products. That's always the way it should work. So, moving right along. Probably going to wrap this up soon. PlanetSide, a little disappointing news with that. Having played it, I've kind of looked at it and said to myself, well, not exactly an easy game to do commentary for just because of the way it works. In a first-person shooter, you get in, you go, you fight. There's always constant action or something to see or something that's entertaining. There's obviously some variance to that depending on the game, but with PlanetSide, it's not an easy game to do live commentary for. In fact, the only way to do proper PlanetSide footage, I think, would be to do post-commentary. And basically that means record your gameplay footage, edit it, and edit in the good parts. Dissolve into, you know, go from one battle to the next and then do post-commentary on what's happening. Unfortunately, that also increases the workload a little bit. I don't know that I want to get into that much with PlanetSide. So I don't know how much I'll be covering that game. I thought that I would be, but perhaps not so much. Plus, that is definitely the type of game you need to be in a clan. You need to be in some sort of organization to really get the best out of that game. You can't play that game by yourself. That's not entertaining. I know you guys don't even want to watch that. So there's probably going to be people out there that are going to provide better footage for that than I can. Mostly because I just don't feel like I have the time to be in certain clans. And I'm not even sure. I mean, I've thought about it with World of Tanks just because I play that game in my free time more than any other game, but we'll see even about that. But with PlanetSide, I'm not going to join a unit. I just don't have time for it, and there's way too many games on the planet that I cover, so I just don't know that that's going to be a proper game for my channel. We will see. I'm not saying I'm never going to have footage for it, but for now, I wouldn't bet on me having tons of coverage for it. So, you know, we'll play it by ear. MechWarrior Online, another free-to-play game. Obviously, the NDA lifted on that a while ago, and I really wanted to have footage of that, but man, they made it difficult for me. They're using the new Cry engine, which is fine. It looks great. The game is great in itself. It's a true MechWarrior game in every respect. It has a lot of work that needs to be done, though. I'll tell you what, their netcode or whatever's going on, it is really finicky. It's not smoothed out yet. It's definitely going to need some time. But it's a good game. I can tell you that much already. If you're a MechWarrior fan, like a hardcore MechWarrior fan, then this is the game for you. It's not newbie friendly at all. And there's no training room. There's no tutorials. There's no guides. There needs to be. Because right now it has, like, you get in the game, pick your mech, go. You're in the battle. Oh, guess what? You need to remap your keys to whatever you like and assign your weapon grouping. And you just have to do it in the middle of a battle. You can't. There needs to be like a training room where you can launch into your mech and map your keys without being fired upon, you know? And they don't have that. And that's such like a simple thing that needs to be in the game. So you're not sitting there at the spawn just, you know, mapping your keys. So they need to work on that. The other issue with recording it is that, see, here's what happens. The mech bay runs in windowed mode, 720p. I record at 1080 full screen. Obviously, I usually start my games, then you go back. Like World of Tanks, you start out a game, you go back to the garage is full screen, 1080p. But in MechWarrior, it's like the garage is a separate thing from the actual game. It's like the game, 1080p, looks beautiful, whatever. Oh, back to the garage, windowed, 720. And you can full screen that window, but what it does is it breaks fraps or DX story or whatever you're using to record. So what'll happen is if you're recording like the gameplay in 1080p with fraps and then it goes to the garage, then the garage switches to 720p, then fraps, I believe, starts recording a separate file. And then, like, sure, you could link the files together in the editor, and then you're gonna have 720p, so you're gonna have I guess black bars in your video, or you know, it's gonna mess with the video. So there's that problem. It's a pain in the neck, and I don't know why they just don't full screen the garage 1080p. They need to fix that. They need to not be stubborn. And so, from what I read in a forum post, they're pretty stubborn about not wanting to, and I don't even know why. So they need to work on that, because a lot of people have already bought the game, and I think that's just stupid and ludicrous. And you know, so are some of the other features, because there's really not a lot there right now. I mean, if you compare it to World of Tanks, there's not a whole heck of a lot there. There's not as many mechs. You know, yet, and it's still early, it's still beta, that's fine, there's a lot left to be done, but again, people have pre-ordered the game, basically paid full price, including myself, have paid full price for the game to get some extra bonuses and stuff, and, you know, founder mechs and things like that when it comes out. So they have the money, so that's definitely not the excuse to give me a full screen 1080p garage, come on, and maybe a training zone so that I can actually just get into my mech. So there's that. Otherwise, I hope to look at that sometime in the near future. I can use my capture card, of course. I have an AverMedia Live Gamer HD capture card, which will allow me to record everything that's on my desktop, so that might be one solution. Although I feel that the quality of that isn't as perfect as using fraps or DX Story. So there's that. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this has been kind of an extra long strafing run. There was a lot to talk about, kind of rambling and ranting about various topics, as I tend to do. Final reminder, again, if you have Facebook and Twitter, please check me out, facebook.com/SideStrafe and twitter.com/SideStrafe as well. That's how you know I release new videos. That's how I put polls out. I put polls on Facebook to say, hey, what do you think of this? I actually interact with the community most on Facebook. You know, if you want to ask a question or something, typically I respond to the questions there. I respond to comments on YouTube as well, but I get overwhelmed. Obviously, there's so many comments, and I'm sure the same could happen on Facebook one day. I only have about 4,000 plus likes on Facebook, so obviously it's easier to manage there, but it's my way of asking the community a question, you know, and saying, hey, what do you think of this, without having to make an entire video about it, you know. So I'm not forcing anybody to get on Facebook or Twitter. I know some people are anti-social networking. Fine, okay, that's fine, you know, again, not forcing, but if you already have it, go ahead and sign up. Makes things easier. That's all I got to say about that. And I think that's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you on the next one.